Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Welcome, everyone, to Two Middle-Aged Guys Trying to Work It All Out. I'm Chris, and with me is my good friend...
Dave. I got my cue.
Yes, you did. Very good job with that cue. Excellent. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about a plethora of topics, a menagerie of discussions that we are going to have. This is a catch-up episode. And if anyone's keeping tabs out there, as I know most of our fans probably are, this is the second catch-up episode that we've actually done. And this is just an opportunity to hit a bunch of different topics that maybe don't quite elevate to a full episode, but still merit some discussion, and to kind of see how Dave and I are doing, and things have happened in our lives that we want to discuss and report on. So that's kind of what we're doing.
This is going to hit at about the same time that folks are either just getting back to school or preparing to go back to school. And that's true for both of us, right? Because we have school-age children. So, it's kind of like let's catch up, and also the summer's over. So let's maybe talk a little bit about our summer.
Despite a few hot days, it's been a pretty mild summer in the middle of the country. I know on either side of us, it's been torrential, flaming hot messes. But I got to say, ours wasn't too bad this year.
No, I guess it wasn't. I mean, we had our warm days, like you said, and I'll talk a little bit about our vacation a little bit, but we did go to somewhere where it was extremely hot. One of my children melted, and it's very sad. I will miss them. I was able to collect them in a cup and bring them back here, but I haven't been able to get them back into solid form.
Well, that will save you on school supplies.
Oh, definitely. We just need to get her a water bottle. That's it. We'll drop her off. Here she is. She's in a water bottle, and probably a discussion with family services. But still, I would like, before we dive into this, because we are going to talk about what's been going on a little bit, things that we're working on, our summers. I would like permission to discuss The Acolyte just very briefly.
I knew that's where you were going.
It was part of our summer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we did say that we would revisit it episode by episode. So if it matters that much to you, then fine. You have my blessing to talk about The Acolyte.
Okay, this is all I'm going to say. And by the way, I'm wearing a robe today. No one can see me. And we were in our virtual studios. This is my Jedi robe. It's cold in the house, so I thought I would put on a Jedi robe. It's a black one. So this is a Sith robe. We gave a lot of time to The Acolyte this summer, because I watched every episode twice.
Whoa. Yeah.
I did. I watched every episode twice for two specific reasons. One was I wanted to give it a chance. Certainly at those first, couple episodes, I was really trying to give it a chance. And then also because we were talking about it on the podcast, preparing for things, I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. That's a lot of time. How do you feel about giving that much time to The Acolyte this summer?
I don't feel great about it. I'm satisfied with our content and what we kind of discussed around it. And we did the episode where we kind of pitched our versions of that story. I thought that was good. I enjoyed doing that. I'll tell you, though, I had similar thoughts to you. And the thing that really ticks me off is it occurred to me just a few days ago, I resubscribed to Disney Plus specifically for The Acolyte.
Oh.
And that hurts more than the time loss.
Yeah, we just had the subscription and for the kids because they like other things, Puppy Dog Pals and Mickey Mouse Club stuff. Not Mickey Mouse Club. That was from the 60s, some other stuff. But we already had it. We already were paying for it, so... Yeah, that would hurt. That would be like me when I subscribe to Netflix for Rebel Moon. That's kind of probably how it feels.
Yes, a similar experience, I would imagine. Although now you got the director's cuts that you can go watch.
No way am I giving. I guess I should say I watched the first Rebel Moon, did not watch the second, and I'm not watching the director's cuts just because it's so bad.
I never watched any of them, so you're a better man than I guess.
Good for you, right? You missed nothing. Other than, you can keep your respect for Zack Snyder.
I'm not sure I ever had that much to begin with, but that's a different episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're already kind of catching up a little bit, but I want to backtrack a minute. We have a listener mail that I wanted to bring to this episode and to share. And so this was a good one. This was on our last episode, which was the Nintendo Wii. And we got this comment on YouTube from @TVoltage. And he says YouTube, he or she, I actually don't know, voltage could go either way. YouTube threw this in my recommends, and it was a joy to listen to and reflect upon, forgiving some slight Sunshine slander, talking about our opinions of Super Mario Sunshine. And then he also adds, always a surprise to hear my hometown of Springfield, Missouri get mentioned.
Oh.
So now I wonder if like we know T-Voltage. Like, I mean, you know, it's not that big of a town. It's completely possible that we've crossed paths with Mr. or Mrs. Voltage.
Absolutely. They could be a coworker, someone you stood behind in line at the local Walmart. It could be your electrician. I mean, that, you know, with a name like T-Voltage.
Voltage, sure. I mean, you're kind of born into that kind of work, I think.
Interesting.
With a name like that.
Of course, he says hometown. That could also mean he's long left, right? And he's moved on to, he could be in like a federal prison.
So T-Voltage, if you want to fill us in on the information there, feel free to reach out to us. But I'm glad that you enjoyed the show, and I'm glad that YouTube threw that in your recommends. So sorry about the Super Mario Sunshine. We're right, so I'm not that sorry. But to each his own.
Well, you know what though? Being the Mario game on the GameCube, I think it's okay to have a positive opinion of it. I don't love it myself, but you know,
it is a flawed game. The first 10 or so levels are genuinely good, and then it just falls apart. But I'll save more of that commentary for the Super Mario Sunshine episode,
which we will do. A Mario Brothers episode. That's
we should do that. Absolutely,
that should be in our. That really should be in our future.
There we go. Now we can proceed with the catching up.
Well, okay, so the summer, just about over. Kids are getting ready for school in about a week and a half. I think for us, at the time of recording, when this episode drops, they will just be getting into school. Probably roughly the same for you, right, Chris?
Absolutely.
That's a sad thing. You know, it's a good thing, right? And my daughter, who's going into second grade, is actually looking forward to school. So I'm happy for her, right? It's better than it being a fight. But it always is sad to see the summer end, mostly because I just remember as a kid, you know, being sad when the summer ended. We just got back from our vacation. We usually take our vacations at the beginning of the summer. So an end of summer vacation was an unusual thing for us. It was a work thing. I had a project that was due in July, and so we just made it so that we went on vacation after that project was due. And so we went to the Florida Panhandle, went to a place we've been going to for many years, and had a great time. I have family there. My brother, who we've visited many times there or gone to this location with and vacation with many times, they're relocated there. So he now lives in the vacation town. So had a wonderful time, great weather, crystal clear water. The stingrays were out, so you could get out up to your chest in the water, and the stingrays would come swim around you. It was pretty cool there. And then the hurricane came. The hurricane that just came through, so we had to leave a little bit early. But I will tell one story that I think is pretty funny. In Florida, particularly in this area, they have these very large black cockroaches. Very large. When I mean, we're talking 1.5 to 2 inches. These guys are monsters. They call them black bugs there to make themselves feel better about it. So saying, oh, look at a giant cockroach. They say, oh, it's just a black bug. Don't worry about it. We had a few of them, outside. We saw them on our way home as we were getting out of the vehicle, very tired, about a halfway point. Somewhere in Mississippi, we got out, and my daughter started screaming, there's a giant bug, and it was one of these black bugs had gotten in the car somewhere in Florida, and I tried to get it, and I think I thought I injured it, and I was like, okay, don't worry, I injured it. It's not, I wasn't sure. A couple days later, my wife was in the car by herself, driving down the highway, and across the dashboard of our new Honda Odyssey scurries this large black cockroach. Of course, she has to pull over to kill it. I thought that was really funny. But I think it's just funny that, you live in a place with giant black cockroaches, but you make yourself feel better about them by calling them black bugs. It was super hot there in Florida, also, I should say. And we did eat outside one day on the beach, one restaurant, like literally on the beach. You're sitting on the beach and with the Gulf out there. And we were all trying so hard to enjoy our food, but there were, I think heat strokes were about to hit literally all of us. I looked over at my 9-year-old, and she's doing her best. She's eating her French fries, and there is a tear streaming down her face. We're like, okay, I'm going to take you to the van. We're going to cool off. And I bought her a snow cone. It was just so stinking hot. But great vacation. Much needed. Had to leave a little tiny bit early. Had an Airbnb. It was a nice house. It had a swimming pool. Great deal on it. Wonderful owner. We had not always had great Airbnb experiences, so we were, you never know, right? Did you guys get to take much of a vacation? Did you take little mini trips to visit family, sort of?
We did a series of very mini trips to go visit my daughter and her fiance. Just weekenders a couple of times during the summer, but that was really all that we scheduled to do. It's just difficult with everything that we've got going on to plan any kind of big, excursion kind of a thing. So we've talked about that, and something that we would like to do in the foreseeable future is do like a big family one, because we're getting to the point where, we've got some kids that aren't living at home under the roof anymore. And so, if we can swing everybody's schedules lining up that we can all go somewhere together, that would be something that we'd like to accomplish. But I want to go back briefly to this black bug situation.
Okay, sure. No, yes.
Because I want to confirm that it is dead.
It is dead. Mary got it.
So you are not introducing this species to Southwest Missouri.
No, nor are we keeping it as a pet. Or charging it rent. Maybe you could be like a lodger. No, we got it. Mary got it. I didn't get it. My lovely wife got it.
Well, that's kind of creepy that it rode with you the entire way.
I know. I know how it got in. We had a bag of seashells, and I suspect that it made its way in there because. That would be a good place for it to hide. I really don't know. I tell myself that so I won't say that it was in one of our other bags. So,
sure. Yeah, you don't want to think that at all.
Right.
So no. All right. Well, I'm glad that you had a good time, and I'm glad that you survived. And you did not need to rely upon Godzilla to kill this cockroach or something like that. There's a bit of news. I don't have any kind of vacation thing to talk about, but there was something that happened in the video game world, which we spend a lot of our time talking about and living in. So one of the catch-up items that I wanted to bring was to briefly talk about this. There is a website called romhacking.net. Are you familiar with this site, Dave?
I am.
So anyone who is not familiar with it's got kind of a name that might make some people go, whoa, time out. I don't know if I want to be involved in ROM hacking. But actually it was a pretty innocuous site, and the purpose of it was a lot of people would create new games based on old ones. So they would take Super Mario Brothers and put Sonic the Hedgehog in it, and then you could play Super Mario Brothers as Sonic the Hedgehog, and it would do different things like that. Not really my bag.
No.
I wasn't too into that. I like playing the standard games. But a couple of things ROM hacking did was, one, they created tons and tons and tons of bug fixes for old games that no developer anywhere is going to touch. They probably don't even have the code base for it anyway. So, there are some things that just were wrong back in the days of NES, SNES, etc. And there are no patches for those, right? doesn't exist except for ROM hacking. That was a place you could go and get these bug fixes, which I think is incredibly important, and I used on many occasions, and I think it's incredibly helpful. But the other thing ROM hacking was known for that I think is a huge thing is for fan translations. So you've got all these games from other countries that did not get the official translation, did not come over to the United States, but there are still opportunities to play them because fans out there have spent copious amounts of hours translating them and then releasing translations on romhacking.net. Well, romhacking.net has shut down.
I saw that.
Or I guess more accurately, it's gone read-only, which basically means that it is now a time capsule, and anything we had up till now still exists on the internet. We haven't lost all that, but you're not going to get anything moving forward. Now, the game preservation community is very resilient, and I have no doubt that something will come up to replace romhacking.net. But to me, it's just a shame, and to me, this is a blow to preservation. And they didn't come right out and say it, but I have to assume that some of Nintendo's efforts towards taking down ROM sites led them to this decision.
Had to,
absolutely. They were very diplomatic about it. They talked about, oh, we've been trying to transition the site to people to run it for a long time, and that just wasn't working out. But I've got to believe that either that was part of the motivation, or the fact that they've had trouble finding someone to take the site over is a result of that. And as big of a fan as I am of Nintendo, it just hurts my heart to see them in a very real way shooting themselves in the foot.
Yep. Agreed.
So I wanted to take a moment and just say thanks to romhacking.net, to everybody who contributed to that and made games that I never would have been able to play or touch, ones that are on my list of some of my favorites.
Wow. Yeah, no, I heard about that. The whole video game preservation, that there's a whole lot there. There's a whole topic there, but it certainly was sad to see that site go. And I'm not sure on the Internet Archive how that's going to work out. It kind of remains to be seen how this is ultimately going to look in a year, but I was sad to hear that go. Oh, Nintendo. Come on, you could do better than this, Nintendo. Nintendo could look like heroes in preservation by participating in partnering with people who want to see games preserved, right? It feels like it's not a priority for them, but it is not a priority for them, but boy, I would love to see something change there.
It would be wonderful to see any of the big video game companies partner with preservationists, and I think, there is an argument to be made that emulation in ROMs, because it does lean against piracy, that they have kind of created a situation where nobody can partner with them. But I strongly disagree with that, because there are preservation organizations that have absolutely nothing to do with emulation,
right?
Absolutely nothing to do with ROMs, that are still trying to preserve games, code, ephemera, all these things. And it would be super easy for a Nintendo, a Sony, or a Microsoft to step in and say, hey, we believe in this preservation effort, and we're going to do what we can and support it. I think that would be a huge show of goodwill to the community.
I agree. Yeah. Oh, let's talk a little bit about the movies that we did not get to see in the theaters this summer, because there's a few good movies out there, and you know that we've talked about The Bike Riders, which I very much enjoyed, and then we also talked about, or I did a short on Deadpool and Wolverine, which I did enjoy, but had certain criticisms of. But there's a few movies that I didn't get to see that I would have certainly liked to, and one I'll mention just right off the bat. I would have loved to have seen A Quiet Place Day One. I like those A Quiet Place movies. I think they're kind of neat. And I would have liked to have seen that Day One sort of prequel type show. I think it's now I could stream it, but I would have liked to have seen that in the theaters.
I'm not a fan of the Quiet Place movies. I saw the first one. It didn't really blow me away. And I saw part of the second one, and it frustrated me to no end. So I was satisfied to miss Quiet Place Day One.
Did you like the Bird Box movie?
I have not seen Bird Box.
Okay. You should check that one out. You might like that one a little bit better. I think it takes things in different directions, so you might enjoy that.
Now that's the one where they have to blindfold themselves.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I'm not a super big fan of horror film,
Yes.
which is strange because I have professed many times on this podcast my admiration for Stephen King. So you would think
Sure.
that would be right up my alley. But what I enjoy in novels, I don't necessarily enjoy in film. So it's not really my go-to genre.
Speaking of Stephen King gave a very glowing recommendation for a film that my wife and I watched called Late Night with the Devil with David Dashimalan, I can't say the name, who I consider this generation's Brad Dourif. It was an interesting movie. It was a scary movie. And it was a very aggressive and, I would say, ambitious movie. Wasn't perfect, did some things differently, and had some surprises, and it was pretty darn good. So, not my kind of movie to watch. We don't watch movies like that at all, but we decided to watch it, and gosh darn it, that was pretty good. So if you like scary movies, you might enjoy Late Night with the Devil with David I can't say the words. So.
I'll look into it. I saw it, as I was flipping through the movie rental options on Amazon or wherever I was, but it wasn't enough to pique my interest to kind of go further. But with your recommendation, I'll look into that. I think the only movie that I missed in the theater that I really, really wanted to see, and have since seen it on streaming, but, missed it in the theater, was American Fiction with Jeffrey Wright and Sterling K. Brown. I had wanted to make that a theatrical viewing, and we just never had the time to get around to it. So I think that's the only one in recent memory that I was really like, oh, I'd like to get out to the theater for that one. But I haven't been to the theater in a very long time, which is sad.
We did a little watching of some shows. Eric, which is a Netflix show. That's
with Cumberbatch.
With Cumberbatch, Benedict Cumberbatch. I think I may have mentioned this in a previous episode. I believe it's a 6-episode show on Netflix. It's got a couple parallel stories running through it. One is very interesting. The other is not so much. A story about a man who's suffering with addiction, and his son is missing, and he needs some guidance from one of his puppet characters because he's a puppeteer. It's a very strange film. Very strange series. Did not care for it at all. I felt it to be just a big waste of time, and some of Cumberbatch's just worst work. So. If you get into it, the problem is you could watch a couple episodes and then you can get hooked because there's like, wow, there's a mystery here. But at the end of it, you realize the mystery's not all that important and doesn't really do anything for you. So just don't get into it.
Interesting, because I did see the trailer for that, and I didn't quite understand what it was trying to be, but my interest was piqued. But I hadn't watched it yet, and based on that review, maybe I'll spend my time elsewhere.
I would suggest it.
I have seen a couple of other things through streaming. I mentioned American Fiction. I enjoyed that very much. I thought that was a very good film. Also, something I don't watch a lot of, but I watched a couple of concert movies. I rewatched Talking Heads Stop Making Sense. They did the A24 remaster of it not too long ago. It's on HBO Max now. And so we were flipping through, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen that in a very, very long time. So watched that. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a marvelous concert film. It's one of those concert films where people will say, oh, you're going to love it even if you're not a Talking Heads fan. I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah, no.
But it's a great film. And then after I watched that and enjoyed that so much, I also watched David Byrne's America Utopia, which is on HBO and is a concert film that he did on Broadway for a while. Very good. Enjoyed that. I like David Byrne's solo work. Probably not as much as Talking Heads, but I like it. And I was really surprised in the America Utopia stage show how much Talking Heads music was in it. Like that, I was not expecting that going in. So I watched those. I enjoyed those quite a bit. They were fun. And then Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
I caught that one on streaming. Have you seen that one yet, Dave?
I've not. We did not catch that in the theaters, and we have not caught it on streaming. I think it's on Netflix right now.
It is on Netflix, which is where we saw it. And, if you are a frequent listener to the show, you know that I was not anxious about this. I'm not a huge fan of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think they miss some crucial points to Ghostbusters. And I didn't really enjoy Frozen Empire either, which was not a surprise. But I was surprised that I didn't enjoy it for different reasons than I expected. So something that the movie does very well, and I'll say this, is it sets up its story and it sets up its villain extremely well. Like, we turned the movie on, and after the first 5 minutes, I started thinking, ooh, I might really be into this. And then it just kind of lets you down on just about every level.
Interesting.
The two things that I'll say, without going too deep in this, is there is a problem in Frozen Empire, which is a problem we've seen in other genre film, which is this desire to science-ify everything. You know, and I think we saw this most drastically in The Phantom Menace, where you had the 3 original Star Wars films where the Force was this mystical thing, and then suddenly, we're going to apply science to it.
Midi-chlorians, yeah.
Exactly right, yeah. And they try to do that in Frozen Empire as well.
Interesting.
I don't need to know why the proton pack works. There's nothing in Ghostbusters that hinges on that, but they decide we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, and it's going to become a plot point to this film. And I was just like, this is so tonally different from what the original Ghostbusters was. So I had a problem with that. And then the other thought that I had, and then we can move on from Ghostbusters, but is it just me, or in all film has lore gotten out of hand? Like, why are we building so much into these films? Like, you've got to do not only the hour and a half movie or the 2 hour movie that you're watching, but it's got to be based on 60 years worth of comic books, and it's got to follow all of these different minutia, and it seems like we're just drowning in lore instead of drowning in story, which is where I would much rather drown.
Yeah, there definitely is some of that. Acolyte, I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but Acolyte did some of that too, right?
It did.
It's guilty of that, but yeah, I definitely know what you mean there.
And it's not solely a Hollywood problem. I think that the fandom contributes to that a lot, where people won't let go of things or feel like, you have to, I don't know, like it's a give and take, right? It's a balance. It needs to work both ways. It needs to satisfy the fan base, but it also needs to not be crazy. And I just feel like so many things between Star Wars, Marvel, and now Ghostbusters, it's just getting out of hand. And I kind of wish they would take a step back and not worry about it so much.
Yeah.
The third and final thing that we've streamed recently is Batman Caped Crusader. And Dave, I don't think our fans really know this about you, but I do have a question. Does your hatred of animation extend to Batman the Animated Series as well?
No, not to the original. My hatred of animation is, oh boy, it's really more like I have a hatred for Japanese animation and anime. And I can take or leave certain other kinds of animation.
Well, I think Batman the Animated Series is one of the finest things ever created. I just think it's marvelous.
Like the original X-Men, the animated series.
It's very good. Now, I'm not as much of a fan just because I'm not as much of a fan of the X-Men,
Sure.
but Batman the Animated Series is great. So when they were doing Caped Crusader and Bruce Timm was coming back to kind of run it, I was very excited by this idea. It's okay. Have you watched any of it?
No, I'm not.
But it's okay. They got the ears wrong, and that bugs me more than probably most people. But Batman's ears need to be straight up and down. They should not curve out to the side.
Yes.
There's been a lot of talk online about mixing up the characters, and Penguin's a female in this, and Harvey Dent does not start off as like a just man and then become corrupted. He actually starts off kind of corrupted in the show, and there are other things that they've changed. They changed Harley Quinn a lot. I don't have a problem with that. Like, if you want to do a mix up with your characters, great, do it. It's kind of like what we talked about with the Acolyte, which is we're okay if you do something different. You just better do it good.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it does it well. And I think one of its biggest mistakes is, once again, we're going back to the origin story. And it's almost like in some ways like a Batman Year One, where they're re-explaining the same ground that we have covered.
We have been there so many times. We really should move past that. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think if Cape Crusader had started with we're just going to tell a different Batman story, I think it could have been something great. But because it tread that same ground again, I mean, there were moments in this, especially like during their Two-Face arc, there were moments in this where it's like, but I've seen Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight. Yeah. Why are we following these same story beats? Like, I didn't quite understand that. So it wasn't great. Visually, aside from the ears, it's fantastic. I don't know why Batman works so well in like a 1920s Art Deco kind of thing, but he does.
Yeah,
definitely. So that part of it I really liked, but especially with how good the animated series was, this disappointed me a little bit.
You know, I thought it might be something we could reflect back on this summer, some of the folks we've lost. We have lost a few big names. I think, OJ, obviously we've made a mention of him before in a few other, a few jokes around Norm and some other topics, but OJ, great football player, Heisman Trophy winner, spokesman for Hertz, great, hilarious comedian in the Naked Gun series, and also very successful double murderer. So I think that we're going to miss OJ a lot, and very sad to see him go. So. And then another one that I thought I would mention would be Shannon Doherty, who was 90210 and Charmed, and passed away very young, very sad, and she will be missed. And of course, for me, the last happened on a big news day would be Richard Simmons, who helped people keep their weight under control in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s. I think I knew Richard's time was coming when he was releasing his new workout tape, Dying to the Oldies. I think that one probably was letting folks know that things weren't going so great.
It was a clue.
It was a clue. And sad to see that, such a positive, happy man who really did seem to love his fans. We'll see how Pauly Shore's movie about him goes, because I'm very curious. But a few deaths I thought I would, maybe mention. Chris, did you have any other deaths that you thought you?
We lost Louis Gossett Jr. So my hopes of another Iron Eagle film are dashed.
Yep.
And here's hoping they don't reboot that one, because I don't want to see anyone else in that role. We lost Emmett Walsh, which is significant because of his role in Blade Runner as the police chief. Fantastic character actor, did great work in Blade Runner. Also, the Coen brothers' Blood Simple is a really, really good, like, kind of neo-noir film that he starred in and totally carried that film. So great, underrated actor. We lost Bernard Hill, who played King Theoden in The Two Towers.
Yes.
And as somebody who always felt that I would be a writer of Rohan were I in that universe, I have lost my king. So that was a rough one. Who else? We lost Richard Lewis. I was never a big fan, but pretty significant that he passed away. That's some people we've lost in 2024.
But we have some stuff to look forward to, right? We've got a great Halloween episode coming up with our retro gamers. Working on having more guests on to talk to and have big guests on that might help elevate our audience and let them learn more about some of these cool people that we're going to be working to have on. So the Halloween show, obviously, and some things planned around towards later in the year. some music retrospectives like we did with The Doors. So you got a lot of really neat stuff coming in the second half of the year.
Our audience really seems to like the music retrospective stuff, so I'm excited to do some more with that. And also, the anything we touch video game wise usually really does really well as well. So we've got some video game things in the hopper, and of course with our friends the retro gamers, as you mentioned.
Yep.
So the year's more than half over, but we're coming in to my stride. I mean, I'm a winter guy, so I'm excited for fall. I'm excited for winter.
Amen.
I'm excited to do more episodes and to get that out there.
All right.
I think we've caught up pretty well here, Dave, and we've brought it close to summer, and the future is bright.